12 years ago, very little of this was here. In fact, this was an industrial wharf. Eminem was someone, and Kim Kardashian was no one. And this car, the Volvo XC90, arrived and took the family SUV world by storm. And now, with a new car on the way, but while you can still buy a new one, we thought we'd take one last look at the big Swede and see how it set the benchmark for luxury family transportation for more than a decade. The XC90 was launched to the world back in 2002 and was Volvo's first ever SUV. Back then, if you wanted a 7-seat four-wheel drive wagon, your choices were relatively limited. In fact, if you wanted a premium, four-wheel drive, 7-seat family wagon, the only real alternative to the Volvo XC90 was the Land Rover Discovery 2. And given we're going to see the Discovery 5 next year, is testament to how long and how well the Volvo has survived. It's been popular too. The XC90 was Australia's best-selling 7-seat luxury SUV for 5 years running. And the list of competitors that have come and gone during its tenure reads like a recap of Game of Thrones. There was a mild facelift in 2007 and a few changes to engines and drivelines along the way. But for the most part, the XC90 has remained exactly the same for 12 years. In all, there have been 636,143 XC90s made. And it kind of feels like it because it's rare that you'll go for a drive and not see another one. So how do I know so much about Volvo XC90s? I used to own one. From the outside, the XC90 is unmistakably a Volvo. Now, with its high glass house, you may not notice this by looking at it, but it's the same width as a BMW X5 and taller than an Audi Q7. Our test car is the R-Design model, which features these nice 19-inch wheels and colour-coded accents. For a train spotter's tip to tell the last generation of Volvo XC90, you've got LED running lamps in the front bar, replacing the old halogen fog lamps. Now, it's up here that the XC90 really does show its age. There's no giant touchscreen or digital display dominating the dashboard. What you get is what was here back in 2002. Although I will say the controls, very analog for the air conditioning, are pretty clear and easy to understand. The infotainment system, and well, let's be honest, it's basically the radio, is generations behind what you get in a lot of current vehicles. Stray too far beyond the basics of AM, FM and playing CDs, and it becomes quite cumbersome and fiddly to use. Pairing up to a phone isn't exactly the simplest task, and I hate to say it, but the reliability of the Bluetooth connection has not been a standout for me. The sound quality though, from the 9-speaker system around the car, is excellent. So once you've found something to listen to, stick with it. Then there's the navigation system. The 7-inch TFT screen rises up out of the dash when activated and can only be operated by this remote control. Now, in typical Volvo fashion, the seats are excellent. The leather is soft and supple, and there's plenty of support. They're both electrically adjusted, the driver's with memory function, and of course, they're both heated. Generally though, the interior has, well, a feeling of pretty premium quality. The materials are really nice to touch, and everything feels very solid and well put together. But the focus of the XC90 is not here to drive, it's back there as a passenger. Well, back here, it's all about the passenger. The rear bench is equally as comfortable as the front two seats. It's split into 40, 20, 40 positions, and each seat can be folded flat and is on rails, allowing adjustment for legroom both in the middle row and the third row behind. Plus, the middle seat has Volvo's trademark deployable booster seat for smaller children. There's even 3 anchors and 2 ISOFIX points for child seats as well. For passengers, there's everything you need. Mat pockets, power, cup holders, air vents, even, possibly the coolest feature, remote headphone jack points, allowing rear passengers to not only choose which audio input they want to listen to, but also adjust tracks and sound volume to suit themselves. Also, and I know it's minor, the rear windows go all the way down, allowing the ride in the back to be as comfortable as you want it to be. But it doesn't stop here. Well, back here, there's even room for adults, although not that much. The soft leather theme continues, There's even more cup holders, more storage cubbies both on the side and here in the centre. There's more air vents and even a fan control for the rear seat air conditioning. Now for me, at 6'3", I don't think I'd enjoy a long trip back here. But if I was 8, like our photographer Tom was when the XC90 came out, then I don't think there could be many cooler places to be. And you know what? It still doesn't stop here. Now open the boot and you've got 250 litres of space behind the third row seats. What's handy is the split tailgate stops anything from falling out when you open the door. Fold this down and you've got a handy bench or seat, and I can tell you it works really well as a nappy changing table when on the go. You've even got a handy luggage barrier if you've got the third row folded down to stop things moving around. Do fold the third row and you've got 650 litres of space. Fold it all down and there's over 1,800 litres of flat 4 storage in the back of the XC90. Now considering the XC90 was Volvo's first ever SUV, they kind of nailed it. You've got that high driving position, which is what the market tends to want, but outward visibility is excellent in this car. There is quite a tall glass house and that large rear window basically takes up the entire rear view mirror, but you certainly feel in control, in command, and well aware of your surroundings at all times. Safety being a huge priority for Volvo, all run-out XC90s are fitted with Volvo's blind spot detection system that warns when there's a car next to you if you're going to be changing lanes. What you don't get, however, are some of the cooler new technologies that you see in other Volvo models. Things like autonomous emergency braking and radar adaptive cruise control are not present on the XC90. There's a choice of 2 engines for the Volvo XC90, a 179 kilowatt petrol engine, or this car, the 147 kilowatt, 420 newton metre, 5-cylinder turbo diesel. Now it's a bit of an older motor, can sound a little bit trucky, and well, there's a definite torque hole low down. But once you're going and once you're settled at speed, it's nice and quiet, and it's certainly a reliable power plant. For fuel economy, Volvo claim the diesel will sit around 8.8 litres per 100 for a combined cycle. From my experience, on a long trip, say Melbourne to Sydney, you will see economies in that range. But around town, it's more likely to bring you around the 13 to 14 litres per 100 for the diesel. The petrol's even higher. Now on the road, particularly around town, the R design with stiffer springs and bigger sway bars gives a firmer ride. It's never uncomfortable or crashy, but you certainly know that bumps are there. Now one of the biggest bugbears I had with my XC90 was the turning circle. You need to really think twice before you have to do a 3-point turn. At 13.1 metres, it's not that great considering that most other large SUVs will fit in just under 10. So if you're after a driver's car, well, the XC90 is probably not for you, but that's not what it was designed for. It may sound a little bit negative running through a lot of these things, but where the car still shines is in the back. The configuration, space, comfort and features for your family back there is unsurpassed even today by some of the most modern SUVs on the market. Well, 12 years is a long time, particularly in the automotive world and particularly in the world of technology, an area where the XC90 is most definitely lacking. What isn't lacking though is that amazing interior, something that matches, if not betters, a lot of the newer SUVs competing in this segment. Given the XC90 has always been around $70,000 to $80,000, you can grab yourself one of the last remaining Volvo XC90s for somewhere in the $60,000 range at the moment. That's a lot of value for a lot of car that has certainly stood the test of time. So if your most important cargo is whoever's sitting in the back and you quite fancy a piece of iconic family motoring history, then now's never been a better time to take a look at a Volvo XC90. You can read the full review of the Volvo on the Car Advice website, but if you want to know more about the all-new XC90, click here or on the link below to see our first look video walk around. Now don't forget, subscribe to caradvice.com.au for all the latest news, reviews and comparisons of what could very well be your next new car.